The first light of dawn touched the towering spires of the city, brushing the smooth glass walls with pale gold. In the heart of the palace, where the walls seemed to hum with quiet power, Kale stood in the armory, the smell of polished metal and leather surrounding him. Every morning he donned his armor in the same way, careful, precise, almost ritualistic. Yet today something felt different. He ran his fingers over the straps of the chest plate, adjusting the fit. The steel gleamed faintly, etched with the sigils of the warriors who had come before him. The sigils were more than decoration. They were symbols of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. But the sigil that mattered most today was the one no one could see yet, the glowing tattoo across his back, hidden beneath layers of armor. Kale flexed his shoulders, feeling the familiar warmth of the mark. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. It had been with him for as long as he could remember, a gift, or perhaps a burden from the ancestors who had shaped the kingdom centuries ago. Few knew of it. Fewer still dared speak its name. It was a symbol of prophecy, of destiny, and of power that could change the fate of the entire realm. He lifted the final strap over his shoulder and turned, ready to leave. That was when he sensed her. The queen, Seraphine, stood at the doorway, silent, her posture straight and regal. Light caught her hair, making it shimmer like spun silver. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, were fixed on him. But it wasn't his armor that held her attention. It was the tattoo. For the first time in Kale's life, the queen had seen it, and the shock in her eyes was undeniable. Kale froze, feeling the pulse in the tattoo quicken. He had trained himself to remain calm under any circumstance. Yet now all the lessons, all the focus, seemed fragile. He could feel the weight of her gaze as though it were a physical force, pressing into his back, searching for secrets he wasn't ready to share. Seraphine took a step forward, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Kale." The walls, the polished armors on display, even the floor beneath their feet felt distant. It was just them, the queen and the warrior, bound by a secret none could speak aloud. "Where, how?" Her voice trailed off, eyes flicking to the glowing mark. It shouldn't exist. Not here, not now." Every instinct screamed at him to speak, to explain, to hide, but he remained silent. There was danger in words. There was danger in truth. She studied him for a long moment, her gaze shifting between awe and fear. Then she spoke again, softer this time, almost to herself. "I've read the histories I've never imagined." He had studied them in secret, the old texts hidden in the palace archives. The prophecy was dangerous knowledge, meant only for those chosen to act. He had been marked by it before he could understand, before the queen herself could acknowledge it. A sudden noise from the hallway broke the tension. Footsteps, guards on their routine patrol. Kale's training snapped in, and he turned, motioning for her to step back. "Your Majesty, you shouldn't." "I need to understand." The intricate lines of the mark glowed faintly, pulsating like veins of light beneath his skin. Seraphine's breath hitched just for a moment. "Kale," she whispered again. Her voice was a mixture of fear and awe. It is alive. I can feel it. And a power no one has yet learned to control." But the other part, the part that had been trained to survive, to protect, knew the truth would put her in danger. "I did not choose to show it," he said finally. "It revealed itself. Perhaps it knew you were here." "What happens now?" "Then we will face them together." A red light flashed across the walls, and the hum of the city's energy field shifted, signaling an unusual breach. Kale's tattoo flared violently. It burned across his back, warm and heavy, as if it were alive and sensing the danger before him. Seraphine gasped, her hands reaching instinctively toward him. "They know," Kale said, his voice tight. "They have found us." He swung open the armored door and stepped into the corridor, Seraphine at his side. The palace, a place of elegance and precision, suddenly felt alive with shadows and secrets. As they moved, Kale's mind raced. The tattoo was a beacon, and they were being hunted. But beyond the danger, there was another force at play, a bond forming between him and the queen, unspoken yet undeniable. Every glance, every shared breath, every flicker of the glowing mark reminded him of the destiny that had been thrust upon them both. They reached the balcony overlooking the city. The sun had risen further, casting long golden beams across the neon towers and floating gardens below. But even in daylight, the shadows were deep. Dark shapes moved along the streets, agents of the factions who wanted the prophecy for themselves. Kale set his jaw. "They will come for us," he said. Seraphine nodded, her hand brushing briefly against his armored shoulder. "Then we will not wait for them to strike. We will choose the moment." And perhaps, just perhaps, it had been waiting for this moment, waiting for the queen to finally see, waiting for destiny to begin. The wind swept across the balcony, lifting Seraphine's hair like silver flames. She looked at Kale, and for the first time there was no distance between them, no royalty and warrior, no prophecy and pawn. Just two souls standing on the edge of fate, bound by a secret older than the kingdom itself. And in that moment, Kale understood something he had never allowed himself to admit. He had never feared death. But he had never feared the future, until now, standing beside the queen who had seen the mark that could change everything. A sudden ripple passed through the city below. A shadow detached itself from the crowds, moving with intent and purpose. Kale tightened his grip on the balcony railing. Seraphine stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm. "They are coming," he said. "Yes," she whispered, "and we must be ready." Whatever destiny awaited them, it had begun, and there was no turning back. The city below the palace pulsed with energy, bright circuits of light tracing the roads and towers like veins of power. Yet in the shadows, danger moved silently, unseen. Kale stood at the edge of the balcony, his armor gleaming faintly in the early morning light. Seraphine remained beside him, her eyes scanning the streets below with a mixture of fear and resolve. "They're organized," Kale said, his voice low. "This isn't a random attack. Someone wants me or the tattoo." It was more than a mark, it was a warning. It had always guided him, but now it seemed to sense the danger approaching, whispering in a language only he could understand. "We need to move," Kale said. He turned to the queen. "You cannot stay here. They will try to lure you out, and your people will follow you into danger. And you will fight them. Only that it begins with me and with you." A deep, resonant sound that echoed through the halls and chambers. Kale's tattoo flared, sending a pulse of warmth along his spine. "They're moving," he said. "We must go now." Kale led the way, Seraphine close behind, as they descended the palace steps into the lower districts. Kale's training guided him. He moved with precision, observing the patterns of the attackers as if reading a map. They were fast, coordinated, and ruthless, but they did not know what they were facing. The tattoo on his back flared again, and he felt a surge of strength and clarity. A figure lunged from the shadows, a mechanized weapon raised. Kale met the attack without hesitation, moving faster than the eye could follow. He deflected the strike with the edge of his armor, spinning to strike back. The weapon shattered against his shield, sparks flying into the night. Seraphine gasped but did not flinch. She drew a small energy blade from her belt, her training apparent in the precision of her movements. Though she was not a warrior like Kale, she was no stranger to danger. Together they moved like a single unit, instinct and trust guiding them. The attackers fell back, regrouping. Kale felt the tattoo pulse, stronger now. It was guiding him, showing paths, warning of danger, and revealing weakness in their enemies. He realized then that it was not only a mark of power, it was alive, aware, and connected to him in ways he had not fully understood. They reached a narrow alley, the neon light above flickering. The shadows seemed to press closer, and Kale's senses sharpened. He could feel the attackers surrounding them, closing in silently. He gestured to Seraphine. "Stay close, do not hesitate." From the shadows, a group of armored figures emerged, their weapons glowing red. Kale's tattoo blazed suddenly, the light reflecting off the walls and casting long, moving shadows. The attackers paused, sensing the energy. Some faltered, unsure of what they faced. Kale stepped forward. "Leave now or face consequences you cannot imagine," he warned. They attacked. Kale moved with speed that seemed unnatural. His arms swung, his armor deflecting strikes. Each movement was precise, as if guided by the light of the tattoo. Seraphine fought at his side, her energy blade cutting through the attackers' formations. Together they moved like lightning and shadow, a perfect combination of strength and grace. In the midst of the battle, Kale felt something shift in the tattoo. It was a new sensation, stronger than before. It revealed a vision, not the present, not the past, but a glimpse of the future. He saw the city burning, the palace collapsing. Seraphine on the balcony, looking at him with fear and hope intertwined. And at the center of it all, a shadowy figure moving with purpose, a threat unlike anything he had faced before. The vision faded as quickly as it had appeared. Kale blinked, shaken. "They're stronger than I thought," he said. "And this is only the beginning." Kale could feel eyes watching them from the darkness, hidden enemies waiting for the right moment. Seraphine finally spoke. "Kale, what is this mark? This power? You have shown me glimpses, but I still do not understand." "It is part of the prophecy, my role in it, and perhaps your role as well." They reached a safe house, a hidden chamber beneath the city known only to a few loyal allies. Inside, the glow of the tattoo dimmed, the warmth fading to a gentle pulse. Kale removed his armor, revealing the mark fully. Seraphine studied it silently, awe and concern mingling in her expression. "This mark," she whispered. "It is alive. It moves, it breathes, it reacts. And it guides me, protects me, warns me. But it also carries responsibility. Those who seek it will not stop until they have it, or until I am destroyed." For a moment they were no longer warrior and queen, no longer prophecy and servant. They were simply two people, standing together in a world of danger and uncertainty. The quiet was broken by a soft hum, the sound of energy from the walls alerting them to movement outside. Kale's tattoo pulsed again, brighter this time, and he knew immediately. The enemy had found them. Seraphine's hand brushed against his arm. "Then we will not wait," she said. "We will face them together." Every corner could conceal a threat, every shadow a hidden enemy. But Kale felt the tattoo's guidance, the connection between him and Seraphine, and the knowledge that destiny was unfolding. They reached the edge of a marketplace, abandoned in the early hours. Figures emerged from the darkness, more than before, moving faster and with coordinated precision. Kale and Seraphine readied themselves. The battle would come, and there was no turning back. Kale's armor glimmered faintly in the dim light. The tattoo on his back pulsed brightly, a beacon of warning and power. Seraphine stood beside him, calm and resolute, energy blade in hand. The attackers paused, sensing the strength before them. Then, with a single movement, Kale stepped forward. "Come," he said, voice steady. "If you wish to face destiny, face it now." Outside, the neon glow of the city reflected off the slick streets, but down here in the underground chamber, it was quiet, almost too quiet. Kale paced the room, his fingers brushing against the glowing tattoo on his back through the thin cloth of his tunic. It throbbed softly, almost like a heartbeat. He had learned to listen to it, to follow its guidance, but lately it had been sending visions, snippets of the past and future that he could not yet fully understand. Seraphine sat on a low bench, her silver hair catching the soft light from the chamber's energy lamps. Her hands rested in her lap, but her eyes were sharp, watching him as though she could see the thoughts tangled in his mind. "You can tell me," she said quietly, breaking the silence. "About the tattoo, the prophecy, whatever it is, I've seen it. I want to understand. Then we discover it together. You don't have to carry it alone." And now the queen was not just watching, she was choosing to be part of it. "Very well," he said finally. "There is a place, a chamber beneath the city, older than anyone alive. The tattoo, it will respond there. Perhaps we will find answers." The walls were lined with glowing energy conduits, their soft hum guiding the way. Kale led, his steps careful, alert. Seraphine followed closely, her presence steady, her hand occasionally brushing his arm for reassurance. The tattoo on Kale's back pulsed, stronger now, as if sensing the chamber's proximity. It flared in patterns that only he could interpret, lighting the path ahead with a faint, ethereal glow. "This way," Kale murmured, turning down a narrow passage. The walls here were older, made of stone instead of metal, etched with ancient symbols. The markings seemed to shift in the dim light, like the walls themselves were alive, whispering secrets long forgotten. Seraphine's voice echoed softly. "These symbols, they are from the Old Kingdom, the one before the wars, before the city was rebuilt." Strange energy flickered along its surface, responding to the tattoo's light. Kale pressed his hand against it. The stone vibrated slightly, and the glowing markings spread across the surface like fire. The door slowly swung open, revealing a chamber larger than any room they had seen in the city above. Inside, the air was thick with power. The walls were lined with holographic displays, floating symbols, and glowing figures that shifted as if alive. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, etched with the same patterns as Kale's tattoo. The light from the pedestal pulsed, calling to him. Kale stepped forward, feeling the tattoo flare in response. It was almost painful now, the warmth spreading across his back. He approached the pedestal cautiously, aware that this was no ordinary chamber. The energy here was older than the city, older than anyone living. Seraphine followed him, eyes wide. This is incredible. How have I never seen this place?" "Only the marked can enter. Only the chosen can unlock its secrets." Seraphine gasped. "It shows everything." Kale's tattoo flared violently, the light almost blinding. "That figure," Kale said, breathless. "It is coming. The one who seeks the prophecy, it is real, and it is closer than I thought." In that moment, he realized that the bond between them was no longer simple trust or alliance. It was deeper, a connection that had formed in the fires of danger and fear. The pedestal's light shifted, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small, intricately carved object, an orb of energy glowing with a soft blue light. Kale picked it up, feeling the hum of power resonating with his tattoo. This is part of the prophecy, he whispered. It is a key, a guide, and a warning all at once. And it will guide us, but only if we understand it, only if we are ready to face what comes. They've found us. Kale's tattoo flared, bright and warm. It guided him, giving him knowledge of their positions, their weaknesses. He moved with speed and precision, striking one attacker after another. Seraphine fought beside him, her energy blade cutting through the enemy ranks with skill and grace. Yet the shadows kept coming. For every figure they defeated, two more seemed to take its place. Kale realized then that this was not a normal attack. It was a calculated strike, meant to overwhelm them to test the limits of the marked. Amid the chaos, Kale felt the tattoo pulling him toward the pedestal. He understood there was more to this chamber than just history. It was a trap, yes, but also a source of power. He grabbed the orb, and immediately energy surged through him. His strength increased, his reflexes sharpened, and the glow of the tattoo intensified. The shadows recoiled, sensing the shift in power. Kale and Seraphine took advantage, pushing back with renewed force. Together they moved as one, their bond and trust manifesting in every strike, every movement. Finally, the remaining attackers retreated into the shadows, leaving the chamber silent once more. Kale and Seraphine stood amidst the ruins, breathing heavily, sweat and energy lingering in the air. Kale placed the orb back on the pedestal. Its glow dimmed slightly, but the connection remained. "This," he said, his voice steady, "is only the beginning. Whoever sent them, they are powerful and they will not stop. Together." But Kale and Seraphine knew that the shadows were closer than anyone realized, and that the secrets of the past were only the first step toward a future that could either save or destroy them all. Kale flexed his shoulders, feeling the warmth of the tattoo. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and strong. The path ahead was uncertain, dangerous, and filled with shadows. But for the first time, he felt a spark of hope. They would face the coming war together. And the prophecy was only beginning. The city above hummed with false calm. To those on the streets, it seemed like any other day. The neon lights flickered, the hovercars zipped past, and the markets bustled with early morning trade. But beneath the surface, in the twisting alleys and hidden corridors, danger moved like a shadow, silent and precise. Kale and Seraphine had returned from the underground chamber, but the sense of unease clung to them. The shadowy attackers had been pushed back for now, but Kale knew their retreat was temporary. Whoever sought the prophecy would not stop until they had what they wanted. "We cannot stay here," Kale said, voice low, as they walked through a deserted street toward a safer district. "They will send more, stronger, and more cunning. It is isolated, fortified, and most importantly, it is unknown to our enemies. We can regroup there." Yet at the same time, the bond between them had grown. She had seen his strength, his fear, his determination. And still she stood beside him. "Very well," he said finally. "The tattoo, it is not just a mark. It is a key, a guide, and a weapon. It has been with me since birth. It connects me to the prophecy of the kingdom, a destiny that will either save it or destroy it. Those who seek it will stop at nothing, and they will come for both of us." "Trusted Dorian," Kale breathed. Dorian had been his companion for years, a fellow warrior and confidant. He had fought at Kale's side countless times. But now Dorian's eyes were cold, and in his hands he held a weapon that glowed with the same strange red energy as the shadowy attackers. "You've led them right to us," Kale said, shock and disbelief churning inside him. Dorian's expression was unreadable. "The prophecy isn't yours alone, Kale. Some of us see the truth, who will rise, who will fall. I cannot let you control it without risk. The mark, the power, it is dangerous. It could destroy the kingdom if misused. I am stopping that." Seraphine leapt into the fray, her energy blade slicing through the attackers' devices with swift, practiced movements. The fight was brutal, not because of strength alone, but because of betrayal. Kale knew Dorian's tactics, his habits, even his weaknesses, but fighting someone who had once been like a brother was a torment all its own. The battle moved into the open plaza, where neon lights reflected off shattered stone and debris. Kale felt the tattoo pulse violently, guiding him, revealing openings in Dorian's attacks and warning him of the enemy's strategy. He realized the tattoo was more than a mark. It was alive, aware, and responding to threats with a consciousness of its own. Each movement Kale made was synchronized with the light and warmth on his back. He blocked a strike, then countered, pushing Dorian back. Seraphine moved beside him, graceful and determined. She avoided attacks with precision, but every now and then she glanced at Kale, her worry clear. "Kale, be careful. He knows you. He knows us. I have to stop him, but I cannot kill him." He realized that the only way to survive was to use the environment. Neon signs overhead, holographic displays, and energy conduits could be manipulated. With careful movement and guidance from the tattoo, Kale led Dorian into a narrow passage, cutting off his escape. "Enough!" Kale shouted, his voice echoing in the plaza. "Stop this, Dorian. You're fighting the wrong battle." The enemies were coordinating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and claim the prophecy for themselves. Kale's tattoo flared even brighter, and he felt a wave of clarity. He touched the glowing mark on his back. Energy surged through him, and the battlefield shifted. He could see openings in the attackers' formations, their weaknesses. Seraphine mirrored his movements, their coordination flawless. Together they fought, striking with precision and strategy. The shadowy attackers fell back, unwilling to face the combined force of Kale's power and Seraphine's skill. Dorian, seeing the tide turning, made a sudden decision. He stepped back, dropping his weapon, and looked at Kale with anguish. "This isn't over," Dorian said, his voice low. "I will do what I believe is right, even if it destroys us all." Neon lights flickered, casting shadows across the debris. Kale and Seraphine retreated to the hidden fortress beyond the city, the place Kale had promised would be safe. Inside, the fortress was fortified with walls that shimmered with energy, invisible to the outside world. Kale removed his armor, revealing the tattoo fully. Its glow was faint now, pulsing like a heartbeat, but the warmth remained, a constant reminder of the responsibility he carried. Seraphine studied it, her gaze thoughtful. "This mark, it is more than power, it is guidance, and it is a warning. We have a choice, redemption or ruin." They spent the night in the fortress, preparing for what was to come. Kale studied the orb from the underground chamber, examining its patterns and energy. Seraphine researched the ancient texts she had recovered, piecing together fragments of the prophecy. As dawn approached, Kale felt the tattoo pulse strongly, signaling a new vision. In his mind, he saw the city under attack, the shadowy figure at its center, and the choice that would decide the kingdom's fate. Seraphine was there, standing beside him, and he understood they were the key to survival, not individually, but together. The fortress walls shuddered, a subtle vibration beneath their feet. Kale's eyes narrowed. The enemy was closer than he had imagined. "We must move," he said, determination in his voice. "The shadows will not wait, and neither can we." And though the path ahead was uncertain, one truth was clear. Together they were stronger than any shadow, any betrayal, or any prophecy that sought to control them. The city awaited, its lights flickering in the early morning. And in the shadows, enemies stirred, sensing the power that had awakened in Kale. The coming battle would test them, challenge them, and force them to confront their fears and desires. But Kale and Seraphine were ready. Together they would face the darkness, and redemption was within reach. The city lay below like a glittering web of light, but tonight the glow was deceptive. Shadows moved in the alleys, in the corridors between towers, and along the rooftops. Kale stood atop the highest spire of the palace, the wind whipping around him. His armor gleamed faintly under the neon lights, and the tattoo on his back pulsed like a living flame. Seraphine appeared beside him, her silver hair flowing in the wind. Her hand rested on his arm, steadying him, grounding him. They both knew what was coming. The shadowy figure that had haunted Kale's visions, the one who sought the prophecy, was about to strike. Kale flexed his shoulders, feeling the warmth of the tattoo. It guided him, whispering paths, weaknesses, and strategies. He could see the enemy in the darkness, moving with purpose, commanding the forces that had been gathering for weeks. The fate of the kingdom of countless lives rested on their shoulders. "Are you ready?" Seraphine asked, her voice calm but firm. Kale nodded. "I have to be. There is no other choice." Kale's tattoo flared violently, almost as if it recognized the figure as the true test of the prophecy. Seraphine drew her energy blade, the soft blue glow cutting through the night. "Together," she said, gripping his arm. "Together," Kale agreed. The enemy descended from the shadows, the air around it thickening with energy. Kale stepped forward, feeling the tattoo's pulse synchronize with his heartbeat. Every movement he made was guided by its light, every thought clear and precise. He struck first, moving with speed and power that even the enemy could not anticipate. The shadowy figure responded instantly, blocking with dark energy that clashed against Kale's armor. Sparks flew, lighting the spire in flashes of white and red. Seraphine moved alongside him, striking with precision, her energy blade meeting the enemy's attacks with synchronized grace. Kale realized then that this was no ordinary battle. The enemy was testing them, probing their limits. Each strike was designed to push them further, to weaken their resolve. But Kale's tattoo flared again, brighter and stronger, giving him the clarity to anticipate every move. The shadowy figure's voice echoed in the air, deep and commanding. "You cannot escape your fate, Kale. The prophecy belongs to me." Energy crackled in the air, and the city below trembled as the clash of power echoed through the streets. Kale felt the tattoo guide him, showing openings in the enemy's defenses, revealing moments where Seraphine's strikes could land with perfect effect. Together, they moved as one, a force of light and determination against the darkness. But the enemy was relentless. For every blow Kale landed, the figure recovered, countering with precision and strength. Seraphine's energy blade glowed brighter, cutting through waves of dark energy that threatened to overwhelm them. The fight was not just physical. It was a test of will, of heart, and of trust. Kale's mind raced. He realized that defeating this enemy would not be achieved by force alone. The tattoo had given him glimpses of the past, warnings of the future, and guidance in the present. But it had also shown him the one path that could lead to true victory: unity. He and Seraphine had to fight not just with strength, but with complete trust in one another. He touched the glowing tattoo on his back. The warmth surged through him, spreading to his arms and legs, filling him with power. Seraphine mirrored him, placing her hand lightly on his shoulder. The connection was more than symbolic. Their bond became a conduit for energy, strengthening both of them. The shadowy figure paused, sensing the shift. Its attacks became more erratic, more desperate. Kale seized the moment, moving with precision guided by the tattoo. He struck, driving the enemy back step by step. Seraphine followed, her blade cutting cleanly through the darkness, but the enemy was cunning. It unleashed a wave of dark energy, forcing them back. Kale stumbled but caught himself, the tattoo flaring like a protective shield. Seraphine grabbed his arm. "Kale, focus on us, on what we share, not the fear." The spire shivered, the city below glowing as if responding to the awakening of ancient power. The shadowy figure staggered, its attacks faltering against the combined force of Kale and Seraphine. With one final push, Kale and Seraphine struck together. Light erupted from the tattoo and the energy blade, enveloping the enemy in a blinding radiance. When the light faded, the enemy was gone. The shadowy figure had vanished, leaving only a faint echo of its presence. The city was quiet, the danger temporarily subdued. Kale fell to one knee, breathing heavily. Seraphine knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered. "Together. It has many paths, and the future is still ours to shape." But it had also strengthened the bond between them, a connection born of trust, courage, and shared purpose. Over the next few days, Kale and Seraphine worked to secure the city. The shadowy forces had retreated, but their presence lingered like a threat in the air. The palace council had recovered from the previous attacks, and the citizens began to sense a fragile calm returning. Kale and Seraphine returned to the hidden fortress, studying the orb and the ancient texts. Each day, they discovered more about the prophecy, the history of the marked, and the power of the tattoo. They realized that the prophecy was not a simple path to victory or defeat. It was a challenge, a test of character, of courage, and of the heart. Kale often felt the tattoo's warmth guiding him, whispering hints of the future. Seraphine stood beside him, always present, her insight and wisdom complementing his strength. Together, they began to understand that the prophecy was not just a threat. It was an opportunity for redemption, for the kingdom, and for themselves. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Kale and Seraphine stood atop the palace spire once more. The sky was a swirl of colors, pink, orange, and gold, casting a serene glow over the city that had been their battlefield. Kale turned to Seraphine. "We have faced the shadows, the betrayal, and the prophecy itself, and yet we remain. Yes, and we have grown stronger together. You are more than a queen. You are my guide, my strength, and my companion." The prophecy had tested them, but it had also brought them closer, revealing the power of trust, courage, and love. Night fell, and the city lights shimmered below. Kale and Seraphine remained on the spire, silent but connected, each feeling the bond of destiny and choice. The tattoo pulsed gently, a living reminder of the path they had chosen, not as individuals but as partners bound by purpose and trust. In the shadows of the city, faint movements stirred. The forces that had sought the prophecy were still out there, waiting, watching. But Kale and Seraphine no longer feared them. They had faced darkness, betrayal, and the unknown, and they had survived. Together, Kale pulled Seraphine close, their hands intertwined. "The prophecy is not finished," he whispered. "But we are ready. Whatever comes next, we face it as one." Light met shadow, strength met trust, and destiny met courage. The kingdom had survived the storm, and the bond between the warrior and the queen had grown unbreakable. Above the city, the stars glimmered like distant fires. Kale and Seraphine stood side by side, the weight of the prophecy lifted by their unity, the challenges ahead tempered by their trust. The tattoo on Kale's back pulsed softly, a heartbeat of hope and power, promising that the story was far from over, but that they would face it together. And in that moment, the kingdom, the prophecy, and their hearts found peace, if only for now.